Everybody, it's Betty from Awaken Possibilities. I've got Sandy with us again, and she's got a great topic today. We're going to be talking about apathy and versus empathy. So take it away, Sandy.
Hi, Betty. It's nice to see you today. So what I want to talk about today is apathy, and so much is happening around the world right now. We're watching a lot of shenanigans in the United States, more deception regarding the impeachment. So you cannot impeach a citizen; it's illegal. And they're trying to do this in the legislature right now. So they're not even using a judicial process; they're using the legislature to say that Trump can't run for office again. So they're usurping the rights of the people to decide for themselves who they want to vote for. So they do not want him in. But I'm starting to watch all the different shenanigans that are going on and realizing some people don't care. And it's not about Trump. It is about the policy changes that are being reversed. And why I'm talking about apathy. Apathy is the ability for you not to feel emotion, not to feel compassion, not to be concerned about anybody other than yourself. So it's not psychopathy, but it's lack of feeling or caring. And I know I showed this chart a fair bit. When you look at apathy, vibrationally it registers at 50. Shame is at 20 and guilt at 30. Physical death registers at 25. So people who don't feel for anybody else, you're very low vibrating. And why this matters is I'm watching different people on Twitter. One young man is saying, I'm just graduated from college and just before COVID hit, and he goes, I don't have a job. And now I'm told my insulin's going up to $2,000 a month. And he wasn't quite crying, but he's like, I'm going to die. And you could see the fear in this young man's eyes. So Trump had said he was going to change the medical system, the pharmaceutical system, so you wouldn't pay more than, I think, $30 or $40 a month. Now he's got to come up with $2,000 a month. That's your rent, if not a mortgage payment or whatever. But there's no empathy for this young man and the fear he's feeling. And I know the war vets as well. It was set up, I don't know if it was last year, they passed a law that said that if a war vet needed the services of a medical or a mental health doctor and they had to wait in line, they could go to any doctor of their choosing and submit the bill to the federal government and they would pay it. I believe that's being reversed. What's happening now, two wars, I think they're trying to start two wars overseas in the Middle East, one in Syria again, and the other one I think has to do with Iran. I'm not sure if it's Iran and Israel. So here's the thing. People are complaining about all the immigrants who are coming in and stealing our job. Do you care enough that your own governments, your militaries are bombing the shit out of their homes and their lives that they have no choice but to come somewhere else? And why this is so important is there's such a standoffishness of, oh, you don't care about anybody else because it doesn't affect you. It affects everybody. And there's a saying that I came across recently, and it was something like, for evil to prevail means good people do nothing. And I don't agree with that at all. I think for evil to prevail, apathetic people who are lazy, cowards, don't give a damn about anybody but themselves, they're the ones who do nothing. And I'm not here to tell anybody what to do. I don't even honestly care who is who. I just want to be able to know how to decide who is decent in my eyes and who's not, and decide who I'm going to form relationships with, alliances with. I don't care. If you want to be a prick, be a prick. Go do it somewhere else. And I think what's going to happen is if you get enough of them together, they're all going to start fighting because we're all going to be jockeying for position and staying in that old energy. So that's why I want to talk about apathy. And even though I'm not painting a great picture, I am not blaming, I'm not judging anybody. I honestly don't care. I don't care more about someone else than they care about themselves. And what had come across I'm going to say my thoughts maybe, or just as I'm thinking about what we're going to talk about today, is the whole world is on psychological reversal. And psychological reversal is when you think your energy is flowing backwards. It's not, but everything seems to go backwards. Instead of doing something good for yourself, you do something that sabotages yourself, and you can't figure out why. A lot of that psychological reversal, in my opinion, happens because we've been traumatized. Anybody who thinks that the Western society is not traumatic, it is absolutely awful. It's heart-wrenching. It's cold. It's calculated. It's abusive. Money, sex, and power are the gods of the Western society. And what that has done is left people unable to even understand what is good in their best interest or what is not in their best interest. So yes, I'm picking maybe a little bit on the people who have no feeling, but people have been shell-shocked and numbed down. So there's a statistic that says 1 in 4 girls and I think 1 in 5 boys have been sexually abused as children. So when you look at the population of 38 million, you can't look at just the girls and say 25% and the boys, if it's 15%, you got to put those two numbers together as males and females. That's 40% of your population who've been sexually abused. You wonder why everybody's traumatized. And we haven't made the connection yet that there's no website that tells families how to raise, maybe suggestions on how to raise a family in a way that protects them. No, we want everybody fighting, everybody separated, single parent homes where you cannot protect these younger generations. So when I look at the apathy, again, I'm not trying to pass judgment, because there's times where shutting your heart down is the only thing that will save you. You don't want to feel, it hurts. The scariest person anybody is going to come across, and notice I'm starting to smile as I say this, the scariest person anybody's going to come across is themselves, because they have been so shut down that feeling hurts. I've had clients I've helped open their heart chakra, and they've ended up going to the emergency room that day because they thought they were having a heart attack. It wasn't their heart that you're opening, it's the heart energy. But it was just, all of a sudden, it just felt like it was cracking open. They thought they were dying. They're having a heart attack. This is how tightly wound we are because of the policies and procedures. And we've all seen what happens if you don't go along and toe the line at school. You fill out the examination. They're examining you to see if you got the programming right. And if you didn't, you're going to go back and repeat it till you get it right. So I understand the levels of deception that are in our society that make people choose these paths, but these paths aren't working anymore. And I'm of the opinion, this is just my opinion, that things aren't over in the United States. Am I right or am I wrong? Who cares? It's just an opinion. Doesn't mean that I'm a supporter or a non-supporter. I want the truth is what I want. I want to see what needs to happen. But as I'm watching what's going on, and they're trying to impeach a private citizen, which is illegal, nobody is standing up for this person saying, hey, wait a minute, that's illegal. It has nothing to do with the person. It should do with the behavior itself. And in the same token, nobody ever stands up for anybody else who's being abused in our society. We all treat it like this is normal, and it's far from it.
And we're seeing, like right now, I think anybody who, and just because it's the easiest way to put it, anybody who's a Trump supporter is being canceled.
Targeted. They're being targeted.
Targeted and canceled. And who wants to be canceled? This whole cancel culture, you know, and in the United States, if you are a supporter, you're now considered a terrorist. Yeah. That is abuse.
Totally.
That they're abusing their citizenry for having a different opinion than they want.
Yes. So this is the programming that people are choosing, that they're saying, hey, wait a minute, I'm going to ask some questions. And for that, they're going to destroy your life, either physically, mentally, emotionally, financially. This is the game.
Yes, because people are losing their jobs over who they voted for. People are, you know, their livelihoods. They're trying to, I don't remember who it was, but they're trying to make this one person never be able to work again. It's like, really?
Now look at the arrogance.
Voted for.
They look at the arrogance of this, that people assume that they have the right to say, you matter, you don't, you matter, you don't. We're going to make sure you never work again. But then how is that person supposed to support themselves or their family? This is the arrogance of the people doing the abuse, but it's also the apathy of the people who've turned a blind eye. I don't want to get involved. You are involved no matter what.
I don't want to get doxxed, because you don't want to get canceled. And that's the truth of it. People are being programmed to become apathetic because otherwise you will be shunned.
I know.
Correct?
And that's a control mechanism, totally. And that's nothing but a control mechanism. So people think that they're free now. Why? Because you think you've got a house? If you have a property, a land deed, I think I might have mentioned this last time, and it's in capital letters, you don't own your home. Your bank, your central bank does. Your government owns your home. You don't own your car. You own nothing when your name is in capital letters. So this is just part of the illusion that people think, oh, if I keep quiet, I'm going to have my house still and I'm going to be able to just get through life. Do you know how many people have told me I'm 70 and I'm so glad I'm 70. I just can't wait to get off this planet. And I'm like, that is not what the attitude that people who are in their 70s or later stages of life are in should have. They should be out having fun, whether it's golfing, gardening, traveling, whatever they want to do. They should be enjoying the fruits of their labor. But they're like, I'm so glad I'm 70. I wouldn't want to be young today. Then let's change it for the people who are young today, as well as herself. and understand that we are all targeted individuals. So they say it's just about the Trump supporters who are targeted. I'm going to talk about women, and I know we've talked a lot about the Sacred Mother. So more and more information is coming out. They do not want us being loving, decent, kind, generous, considerate people with each other. Something just came out in the UK about women now. They don't want the midwives. So I understand now that all the universities or colleges, whatever, they all have midwives who are still preaching the same shit that probably the hospitals did. They don't want it called breastfeeding anymore. Now it's chest feeding because they're stripping your desire to be feminine out of you. Sorry, I love my girls. I'm not saying I still pass the pencil test. Damn close, man. And it's only happened in the last year that I don't, right? Like, I love being a woman. I absolutely love what it feels like. I love my creativity. I love my generosity. I like how I can build people up.
Yep.
Don't get me wrong, I'm feminine. I can tear them down if they needed to. I don't have a problem taking a strip off somebody if that's what needs to happen. But generally speaking, what isn't to love about being feminine? We've got all the power. We've got the ability to create. We've got it all.
And it's funny, 'cause I was just talking with my mom, and I said, wisdom is housed in the female energy.
Yes.
That's where wisdom resides. And that's what they're
Knowledge is male. Wisdom is female.
Yeah. Yes. Yep, exactly. And all of those wonderful traits that women have is what they have been trying to beat out of us to go to that apathy.
Yes. And they want us down in vibration. So fear wasn't enough. Fear registers at 100 hertz. They want you down to 50. So now, interesting enough, the physical body, 62 to 78 hertz is the range. Colds are 58 hertz. Flus, 57 hertz. Cancer, 42. They want you sicker than a dog so they can cancel you.
Yeah, and the plan, we know that the NWO plan is to get rid of more than 50% of, or actually like 90% of us.
I think you're closer when you talk to 90%, right? So I just wanted to talk about that. So when you look at your higher self, when we're in our best form, we're our highest masculine, highest feminine, and the Christed child. So Holy Mother, Holy Father, I'm not saying this from a religious standpoint, Christed child, that's when you're your most beautiful, loving, creative, kind, generous, fun, spontaneous self, who can also get out and get things done. And then you create the beautiful child, even in yourself, when you're like carefree, loving, like just having a good time with just being a child, just being yourself. This is what they don't want to have. So when you look at the creative side, sorry?
No, I was going to say, because that whole father, mother, child, that is the Trinity.
It is.
The Holy Trinity. It is not Father, Son, Holy Spirit, because you can't get a son without who?
Mother.
Mother.
So when we understand that we're being targeted.
That was done on purpose. That
totally.
was done very purposefully by the Catholic Church to remove the female from whatever. I mean,
from life. So I'm not saying they wanted to make us AI back then, but they want to cancel us from life. So when you look at the Church of England, it's an offshoot of the Roman Catholic Church. You look at the University of Toronto, I think it was built in the 1860s. It's an offshoot of the Church of England. So the universities have come in and they're trying to destroy people further by telling them these stupid things like girls can be boys and boys can be girls. And it's the women who are betraying the younger generations by going along with this insanity. Yeah. So when are women going to clue in and realize we're being targeted? But it's not just the males, it's the academics, it is the corporations, it's the medical mafia, it's the mental health monkeys. They are the ones who are trying to push all of this down our throats. And when I say this, I also noticed somebody had posted an article today, mammograms now. So when you get the COVID vaccination, it can flare up your lymph nodes and make your breast lumpy or put inflammation in your breast. So when you go in for a mammogram, they'll tell you have breast cancer. Go get the girls taken off. So this is insane.
Well,
where's the outrage?
A mammogram, just so you know. I actually have told my doctor, because I'm over 50. It's like, oh, it's time. I'm like, no, it's not. You want to check? Give me an ultrasound. But they were not doing this.
Yeah. And I've had one and I've never gone back, and I'm old enough and I check my own anyways, right? But and same as colonoscopy, they say the colonoscopy, or not colonoscopy, the colon, what is that when you go in and have your rectum checked? What is that called?
Colonoscopy.
Is it colonoscopy? What am I thinking? I don't know. Anyways, when you go in, they say this
DNA one, you can send your fecal sample in for a DNA check. And I was like, no to that too. Thank you very much.
No to that too,
No,
right? But they say they
but
perforate the lining.
you got to control your own health and
Yes,
learn what they're doing. And as soon as that thing came in the mail that said they wanted to do the DNA, I can opt for this. I was like, yeah, no thanks.
I know.
Uh, no. As long I feel healthy.
Yes, you know
I
you're healthy.
I know I'm healthy. I check myself.
Yes.
If my body isn't working properly, then we'll go for intervention. And I'll be honest, I would not even go see a doctor. I would go to a naturopath or a homeopath or something like
First,
that
yeah.
prior to seeing a doctor at this point because I don't trust anybody anymore with this whole COVID thing. Really?
You don't know what the agendas are. So you can't guarantee someone's integrity or their
No.
morality based on the field of study they're in. So you trust yourself. And it doesn't mean you don't go. You have to decide for yourself. But the idea is when you listen to your body, it'll tell you you need to go see a medical professional. You need to go to see a masseuse or a chiropractor or whatever it is. But trust that you have the answer to lead yourself, right?
Yeah.
So when I'm starting to look at all of this stuff that's coming down, and they're really pushing against the female principles. They do not want us rising. And this old, oh, you're you've reached a certain status in the bar, like the legal profession, the lawyers. Who cares? It's corrupt as hell as well. Who cares if it's a medical profession? Who cares if it's mental health? Are you decent? Are you kind? Are you just? Are you good at what you do? Have you stepped away? And I noticed a lot of people would challenge me on Facebook because I would post something, and just because I posted it, they would make it political. And I'm like, no, no, you are the one who can only see left and right. I'm posting this because it's the content or whatever, but they would form opinions. You can't go to someone who has a limited judgment or a preset belief and expect them not to inject their belief system energetically into your field. So I'm not attached to any outcome. I don't have any limits on people as long as what you're doing is not hurting anybody.
Yeah. And I think I'm going to just circle back to, sorry for saying circle back, um, to what you said about the left and right thing, because that is a huge division and they've created that even here in Canada to some extent. I don't think it's quite as great.
Oh, totally it is here. Totally it is
Isn't it?
at the left and the right. They want women hating men. They want everybody
Yeah.
blaming the women. And we talked about
Well,
this
both
last
sides
time.
want that. Both sides want that. So I just don't see, conservatives and liberals kind of wearing it the same way they do in the United States.
Oh, I spent a lot of time watching the sex ed rollout and the lies and the manipulations. It is definitely here. It is definitely in the politics.
Oh, no, no. I mean, oh, the corruption, absolutely. But I'm talking about an individual divide. I think people
I
aren't
think people here
aware.
are apathetic. I
They
think they're so
too many
apathetic.
people
They
are.
don't know what's going on.
I
That's
agree.
my opinion because I listen to people or talk to people who I think are somewhat intelligent, is what I would have labeled them even a year ago or 2 years ago. And I listened to them justify their nonsense. I knew a woman told me one time at school, her daughter, I think she's about 9 at the time, she was out at recess and this kid came up and goosed her. This boy came up and goosed her, which is sexual assault.
Mhm.
That is sexual assault. And they called the mothers in and they end up talking to this person and saying, well, we don't want to get the boy in trouble. And I do agree, but there's got to be lessons that are taught, boundaries that are taught so that this doesn't happen. I'm not saying I want to see this boy get in trouble either, but the mother goes, oh, my daughter's just so sensitive. Are you kidding me? She was sexually abused, and this is your answer because you don't want to rock your boat because you love the money for the job you have. And this is the responsibility that we don't have. But we're starting to see who's lame. I'm going to call them lame. I don't care if you're apathetic. I don't care. Even, I don't mean disrespect. I don't care what happened to you. If you're causing pain now, deal with it. So you stop causing pain now. And it's not okay what happened. If you experience any type of abuse in your life, it's not okay. But
No,
sooner or later, there's got to be a generation here that says we're looking at what happened in the past. We're processing that. We're looking in the present to see what makes sense so we can create a brighter future. We're going to collapse those three timelines and bring them into the present. That's what I see needs to happen. Which,
absolutely. And that's a really good example, Sandy. I love it because that it actually made me think of like how many people have I heard say, well, I just let it go because I don't want to rock the
the
boat.
boat. Oh, tell me about that one, eh?
Oh, and it doesn't matter how big or small it is. It's I just don't, I'd rather complain about it to you, but I'm not going to actually deal with the problem head on.
Yes.
And that gets me so angry. It's like, well, then don't complain about it.
The road answers.
If you're not going to do anything about it, then shut up.
But the road answers. People just run automatic pilot.
And you tell them that, and it's like, you know what? If you're not doing anything about it, I don't want to hear about it.
And then you're the asshole.
I'm the asshole. And it's like, but they get taken aback by like, what? You don't want to hear me bitch and whine? And I'm like, no, I don't want to hear you bitch and whine unless you're bitching and whining but you're doing something about it.
Or you're looking for a solution. Yeah.
Where are you going to confront somebody about the wrong that was done to you? You may get something, you may get satisfaction, justice, whatever, or you may not. But
you're not going to get justice in this society. You're not going to get justice. But what you do is, and I don't even say you confront from your own pain. You heal your own pain, but you confront the narrative.
But I'm talking about little things. Like, I'm going to be honest. It was this elderly woman that I check in on from time to time. Wanted an Avon lady. I got her an Avon lady. She placed an order, and then I was checking in on her, and all she did was complain that the order was wrong and stuff was old, blah, blah. And I'm like, well, call her and return it. Oh, no, I don't want to rock the boat, and I don't, It's like, well, then shut up, because
I know
you're not doing anything about it. Then you're fine with it.
But that's a road answer that they're trained. And this is the problem with a lot of I'm going to say the females, we were taught to suck it up when we're younger. So she's an older lady. She's gone through even more programming than us. And I'm not judging, I'm not making excuses for or anything along that line. She just has more programming to go through. The older you are, the more set you are, the less you're going to do it. But she probably also, when she was a kid, got the finger wag. Don't you stand up. Don't you go bringing attention to yourself.
Ripples. You don't know that's great. That's not even a wave. It's a ripple. It's a ripple. It's nothing.
I know.
But the kicker is she's the same age as my mom.
And you know what? So given our age, my mom wouldn't rock the boat either. And it's not personal. It's just so I understand there's things I might not be asking them to come in and say, if we're going to be the change, let's do this. It wouldn't be necessarily some of the people in that generation. I know people that age who are active. One's an astrologer. She's out there saying, okay, the next couple months, things are going to get rocky. So she's doing her bit to help all of us. Yep. So I don't want to discount anybody or put them in a label or put them in a category. If you're in, you're in. If you're out, you're out. Choose a side, as you've said. Pick what side you're on. But for that little stuff, we're not interested. We don't have time.
No, but if you can't even do the little things, how are you going to pick a side on the big things?
They're not going to. They can't. So let them go. Let them get the vaccine.
I know. Well, I hope she doesn't get the vaccine.
I hope they don't. I know. I hope the same. But I don't get to say, because then I'm just as controlling as the people are saying.
No, fair enough. I am at the point of, I will give you the facts on the vaccine. Yeah. If you choose to continue to do it, well, I can't do anything about it. Nice knowing you. See ya.
Exactly. And that's the mature thing to say. You're not, it's like a relationship. If you don't want to work with me on this relationship, I am going to be leaving. I've done as much as I can, but if you're not reciprocal with me, I'm going to leave. I'm going to find a relationship that does work. And then you know what happens? The person either steps up, or they'll reverse it and say, you're the one controlling. Because usually the ones who say you're controlling are the controllers. I learned that one the hard way. Because people tell me I'm controlling, and I'm like, what? And I never understood, oh, that's your way of controlling. Inverting is telling me that, so I slow down and don't question you. So let them go. Let them go. So a lot of relationships are going to end. But it's really important that we understand the apathy. So again, I'm not trying to lump everybody into one boat, use that metaphor, but some people are apathetic because they've been hurt so bad they can't see straight, or they've been betrayed so many times. I met a woman in a courtroom. I don't remember if I've told you this one or not. I was at the Ben Levin trial, and she was in the lobby of the courthouse for another situation, and she was always in trouble. She's 65 years old and could never get herself organized. People were attacking her. She said she had to move cities, and now they're saying that she filled out somebody's tax return wrong. She did it for free, and they're saying they were scamming her, or she was scamming them. She told me, this is going to be a shocking one, okay? So I want to just take a breath and just back a bit. She told me when she was 9 years old, her father had remarried, and when she was 9 years old, the stepmother pinned her down and told her 11-year-old stepbrother to rape her. She never recovered. So let's look at this. So this is a shocking one. It blew my mind. The very few times I've actually gone, oh, I couldn't handle it. So let's stop for a minute thinking that there isn't fucking bitches out here or people out here who would not do wicked amounts of harm to other people. So that woman might not be apathetic, but pretending she's apathetic so that she doesn't get involved. I don't care what your reasons are. Going forward, where are you in this? Are we going to set up healthy understanding of what it means to be feminine? Are we going to call out people who say, I'm chest feeding, and you're the birthing parent. You're no longer a mother, because they want everybody to be non-feminine. But let's call out the insanity of the system. We've got to start getting love right. And yes, there's people who are working on romantic love and making recommendations of how to strengthen your relationships, and that is fantastic. First, you go inside for yourself and learn what it means to love yourself. What do you love about yourself? And what I found was interesting when a lot of this, and I talk about the LBGT, I don't have a problem with two people do as adults. When you're teaching a 12-year-old to let somebody you up the ass, I got a problem with that. This is child sex abuse, but where's those white collar experts to say, wait a minute, this is going to damage that child's psyche emotionally, maybe physically. Yeah. It's going to impair the relationships going forward. Where's the professional in our society, the white collar ones who are doing all the stealing, it seems, for whether it's pharmaceuticals, whatever it is, the politicians, where are those people? So we can no longer count on them to show us what it means to have a healthy relationship. So some people are working on the healthy relationship, but the relationship for self. And what I find was interesting, how many women would say, I'm hetero. So one, I don't even know your name, but you got to tell me how you like sex. Boundary issue. Yeah. How much money are you worth? Oh, they wouldn't tell me that. Oh, but I need to know how you have sex. You need some boundary work, right? Like just basics here. But they would say, I'm hetero, but I support LBGT. And finally, I got to the point I would say, do you have self-esteem issues? What do you love about being a woman? Block. So we have to start calling the bullshit on the middle ground. Yeah. I'm sure you love being a woman. I can tell. I can see by the way you carry yourself. I love being female. I love that. I'm always mostly.
I would never want to be anything other than a.
I know.
Yeah, I think it's actually great. Like I said.
So do I.
And I don't know. I feel sorry for most men because they've been more repressed emotionally. That at least we're allowed to verbalize our emotions. We can verbalize how we feel and be open. Men can't.
Not the same. And even when women say they want the men to talk, women normally do not want men to sit there and pour out their feelings, because that's what women are for. Women's groups are for. We work together and process and heal ourselves. So when they say, the feminists are saying they want the males to open up and talk about their feelings, no, they don't, because then you get turned off sexually. That's the game there. Men can talk to male groups. I'm not saying I agree with all the male groups that I've seen out there, but they can talk to each other and strengthen each other. And you can strengthen yourself in your intimate relationship. But to sit there and say, oh, men need to start talking about their feelings more, that's just more of that feminazi. So what you're doing is you're bringing the polarity of the relationship together to the point. So you need the push-pull of masculine and feminine to have the dance. And when you look at, so I'm going to say some of the professional sports players, maybe not so much lately, because some of them are pretty feminine, it seems, but you have a very masculine male. He needs a very
players kissing each other.
Oh, wasn't that disgusting? Right? God. Holding each other's bums. So this is all optics, just to make us assume. So I told a friend of mine, a male friend, they want you guys gay, and I'm so glad you're not gay, right? And it has nothing to do with that. But if he doesn't know who he is, he will let that imagery trick him into thinking it's normal. So he has a strong sense of self, right? I have friends who are gay too. It doesn't matter. I don't care. But what I'm saying is, when you're trying to trick heterosexual men into being gay, then I got a problem, because it's manipulative. But you have a strong male who's very identifies with masculine. He needs a female that is very feminine to counterbalance that. Doesn't mean their relationship is perfect. Doesn't mean they're not going to have problems because they're polar opposites. Usually when you come in, maybe 60-40, like, 60-40, 70-30. So I can get things done in my masculine energy, but I'm mostly feminine, but I still have masculine energy. I would need a male who's like 70% masculine, 30% able to focus with his feminine energy. You bring them closer together and closer together, like they're trying to do. You do not have a sexual polarity. That's when you wear the same plaid shirts and the same beige pants, you got the same hat on, and you do not knock boots because you're best friends. Because there's no sexual polarity. That's the dance of the flirting and the sexuality and knowing I am very, whether it's like vibrate, I'm gonna say vibrationally, that you're very much on the same wavelength with that person. It doesn't have to be a physical appearance, although there's got to be a physical attraction of some sort in there for that to work usually, right? Whatever it is, whether it's your smile, your eyes, the way you laugh, there's got to be something that draws you to that person, right? But this is what's missing, all the excitement and the fun in lovemaking. When people talk about sex making, how much fun does that sound like? That sounds like you're getting busy and just doing the mechanics of the act. So that's what they want everybody doing. So when they really want us destroyed, they do not want women in our higher power. They do not want us to say, no, we've actually got this and we can talk sex and we can talk love. And the younger men, maybe like the 20 to 30-year-olds who are looking for healthy relationships, I've had many young men come up to me and they just start talking to me and they ask me questions and I will answer and they're like, wow, where are all the good women? You guys got to wait a little longer, right? We're still trying to help some of them out. When you look at when Trump was inaugurated in 2016, I said the T word, watch it, certain people trigger. If you're triggering on that, you've got entities because that trigger is an entity.
Shouldn't be on I think most of my subscribers and people who watch are in the same category. And that's not left or right, because I'm going to be honest.
It's not.
I considered myself, more liberal most of my life. I've always voted. I never voted party lines. I've always voted on policies.
Yes.
I read their policies and who is more aligned to what I want. So
and now you can't do that.
But I can't even do that because they're all the same.
Well, now you can't do that because look at what the administration in the U.S. said they were going to do, and they did the exact opposite. So it's got to be whether they follow through, they walk their talk. Yes, but what I was going to say about that inauguration, what happened was, do you remember that all the women were down there protesting Donald Trump getting in, and they wore their vaginas on their head? Yes. And again, that goes back to this. So I've talked about buying the toilet paper. You've got your vagina on your head, you're upside down. And the reason why they are over estrogenizing, if that's the word, all the water, all the hormone therapy that's in the water, birth control that's in the water, hand sanitizers have estrogen mimickers, they're enhancers. You're putting that on your body. Too much estrogen makes women crazy and gives males boobs, makes them females. So when you're looking at the fish in the water, look at frogs, all the male frogs, they're feminizing them, but not in a pretty way. So feminine men can't stand up and fight because they're too soft. They don't even think there's a problem because they're just one of the girls. When you're around a very feminine man, you can talk about shoes, you can talk about makeup, you can talk about handbags. You do that to a masculine man, he's like, get me out of here. There's nothing wrong with them. There's just the way they are. But we're trying to change everybody to suit us based on what they tell you in university. And it's like, there's a lot of sexual retarded people running universities. And I can stand up and talk about it.
And creating a lot of sexually retarded children out of it, unfortunately.
And they are.
Years have been an absolute disgrace.
I know.
Disgrace. It's disgraceful what they're doing to us.
And we have to start calling out the women.
This is, I truly believe, Sandy, this is all going to reverse. And I think one of the things is actually, I don't know where you want to go with this, but I'm thinking, we need to be able to identify where we're apathetic in this journey, because what we were talking about before we came on is there's going to be a massive reversal.
Yes.
And if you're living in apathy,
you're going to freak out. You're going to freak out. And you're going to be like the swimmer who's drowning. Somebody's going to come and help you, and you're going to be clawing because you want your old bullshit, money-driven, fiat currency. You own shit. You own nothing, bullshit, because that's all you can identify with. So you're going to be the ones we have to watch.
The one who wants to have their vagina on their forehead.
And that one too. And the apathetic doesn't mean just a vagina on the forehead. Those are the sexually confused. Yes. That they think their vagina they rule with. Yeah. But the apathetic ones are the money hungry, the ones who don't care, who identify with what they own, their possessions. That is going to be who the apathetic ones, I think, are going to fall more in, because we still have a fairly large middle class, although they're trying to ruin that. We're still there. So the people who identify with their stuff are going to not want the changes to come. And I agree with when you said it's going to change very fast. We're going to know either what side are you on? Are you here for decency? If you cannot articulate what it means to be decent, kind, and if the cliches, you say, don't rock the boat, love in the light. Oh, I'm the love in the light. No, you're neither. You just tell yourself that because you programmed yourself with the New Age movement.
Yes, and there's a lot of problems in that new age movement because, I dabbled in that too. When you're trying to figure things out, there's good in it, there's bad in it, just like every religion,
Everything. Yeah.
because they've all been hijacked.
Everything's been
Every
hijacked.
single institution on this planet has been hijacked.
Charities, everything. Big charities, yeah, everything.
That I've known for a long time. I remember when was it, they were collecting for something and some big tragedy, and I felt bad, but I was like, I'm not giving my money to you, sorry, because I know it's not going where it's supposed to go.
I know.
And
Look at,
for every dollar I give you, if 10 cents of that dollar gets to the people, we'd be lucky.
I know. And look what all the tragedies that I think it was Red Cross that or the Canadian government supported. If you gave $1, they would give $2. So if you gave 100, they'd give 200. Where did that money go? You look at the Red Cross now. They know when, I think it was Clinton or Bush, I can't remember, the Arkansas, but they would go into the prisons and get men that they knew had HIV to donate blood, knowing it was going to stain us. Oh, we didn't understand. Everybody's, oh, we didn't get it. We didn't know. We didn't know. So then you look at all the blood scandals with the HIV up until like 1985. It was done intentionally. There's people who come out and said it was done intentionally. People have to clue in. They're trying to kill you. They're trying to destroy you. It's not personal. They've been doing it for decades. They've been doing it for centuries. We're just waking up. But we have to.
We're like the frog in the cold water, and they've just put it on low, and the water has been heating up, and we didn't notice while we're getting cooked.
I know. And now it's like I've been out of the pot for a while, right? And I'm not in the fire anymore. So that's pretty good. But we all have a right to get there. We have a right to right our spaceship and fly our spaceship right side up. We have the right to do that. We need to know how to do it. And where the apathy comes in, some people are going to try so hard to keep you convinced that they know better than you, that their policies are better than yours, that their opinion is better than yours. And this is why it's so important to trust yourself. So we're talking about the apathy. One question I ask clients, I say, tell me 3 beautiful things about you. And they stop and they look, because nobody ever asks them to do that. And some like everybody's at a different range, and I'm not insulting anybody, but sometimes people say, well, I'm a good cook. That's where they're at. I don't challenge them and say that's not. But what do you love about yourself? What do you love? I love the fact I'm so intuitive. I didn't do this to myself. I've been born this way, but I've got it, but I love it about myself. I have a big heart. I can find nuggets of good in people that they couldn't find themselves. And I'm a firm believer that if you got in the way you are with other people's help because they knocked you down so many times, then maybe you need somebody else's help building you up until you can fly on your own.
Yeah.
Right. I have a great sense of humor. I'm very connected, like with the animal world. I can go off and name many things about myself, not from ego.
Yeah.
And this is where we need to go back into.
Yeah, and I think that's where, I mean, hopefully this is a bit of a wake-up call for people who may feel apathetic to what's going on, even if you know the truth, because there's even truthers who are apathetic.
Totally, nobody's free of it. No group.
No,
I agree,
no.
totally.
And I know some. I do know some that it's like, yeah, I want to know what's going on, but yeah, no, I'm just going to sit here and wait. But it's going to freak them out as well. And when I've shown them the Nisara and Chisara stuff, it got the same response. It's like, that's not going to work. Well, what about blah, blah, blah? Because I did all this stuff for myself. And I was like, well, that's great. It's not, nobody's losing in this.
I know, but they can't see that because they're apathetic and they're stuck with their possessions and the external sense of self that they don't understand. And like I've seen people say, I paid off my house. Why should that person get their house paid for? Who cares? You got a house that's paid for. Like it's like, why are we comparing?
Here's the deal. That house you paid for didn't belong to you. Now it will belong to you.
Yes. Isn't that a better way of looking at it? The truth of what all this is, the insanity. But people are so competitive.
Because, and I have said this for years and years, we own nothing because they can take it away from you any given moment.
Yeah.
They just have to come up with an excuse.
And they have them all. So you look at Bill, I can't remember if it's C-15, I meant to look this up earlier, or Bill C-75. They can, Trudeau passed this, 16 maybe, can't remember, that they can go into your bank account. So if the banks become insolvent, your 5, 6 banks, if they become insolvent, they can take the money out of your bank account and replace it with their shares of their bank stock. And it's legal. You own nothing. So I'm not saying this is funny, although I'm laughing. It's funny in a way that how did it get this bad? Because all the criminals are all in these organizations that set this structure up this way. This is why this whole thing is going to fall. And I believe it's going to fall. Sometimes I sit here and I've had people laugh at me going, I still love you, but you're wrong about this. And I'm like, I bailed you out last year when you're going, what's going on? And I gave you all that information. This is on social media. And then now what? 6 months later, oh, Sandy, you don't know what you're talking about. I let this one guy sit for a week and I thought about it and I thought, I don't, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice isn't going to happen, but we're still going to need them. So I dropped the dumbs on them today. They say there's a lot of earthquakes happening in Canada, and there's a map. I'm going to send that to you, showing you where all these earthquakes are. And I said, are they earthquakes because they're cleaning out the dumbs? And he's like, what are the dumbs? And I said, the deep underground military bases. Other people liked it, but he didn't comment. I'm like, I'm going to keep red pilling you, even if you are a dick. Just not every day, maybe.
Yeah, I know I had a thought, but it left. What did I want to say? No, at the end of the day, and this comes with the faith. I don't believe in hope. Like, hope gets you there, but you have to go past hope to faith, because faith means regardless of what's going on around you, you stay firm and believe. Hope is still a little airy fairy. It can be taken away the way I look at it. It can
It's
be
different for everybody, right? So it's different for everybody. I agree with what you're saying about faith, but I have hope. I haven't lost hope
too, but faith is my grounding, and yeah, I have hope for.
I hope you can shape with your intention.
I don't know how. So my hopes are more of like, well, I hope it unrolls this way. I hope it unrolls this way. But whatever way it comes, it's going to come, and life is going to be fantastic.
Yes.
And I really, to the core of me, believe that this evil cannot stand any longer.
Yes, I agree totally. And this is where if we cannot articulate what self-love is, some people think self-love is sexually getting yourself where you need to be. Yeah. That's not what it is. It's understanding the beauty of your heart and knowing your heart is part of your loving energy, is part of who you are and how you show up in the world. It's part of what you say to people. I have people sometimes just look at me and smile, and I'm like, what? I realize maybe I'm smiling or like I'm lit up, and they're catching it and they're smiling back. This is where we go. But what is self-love? What is self-appreciation? What do you love about yourself? Can you name 3 beautiful things about yourself? And then when you start to say, you know what, I'm a pretty decent person. I am a lovely woman. I like being a woman. Instead of, oh, I'm now chest feeding. Whoa. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, but these are women doing it to women. Because I think some of these women hate themselves.
Yes. And well, women are taught to hate themselves.
Yes. So that's where we come from.
A very young age to hate ourselves and to think less of ourselves. I even think of how I was raised, and I've talked to my mom about this and explained to her, and she's like, well, it's what you knew at the time.
Yes. No blame.
And she's so proud now that I'm so strong, and that's one of the, I can actually stand in my conviction. I love that about me, that I can actually go, yeah, to hell.
And you can articulate it.
I don't give a shit. But I can also be kind and loving and generous. And people are sometimes shocked. People I know because of walking the dog. I know everybody who has a dog in my area. And somebody had a new puppy and couldn't find something that would fit it to keep it warm in the middle of winter. Well, you'll have something tomorrow. And I went home and I knit it up for them. And
very nice.
It took me a few hours. No big deal. They were like, oh my God.
That's your generosity.
Yeah, this is my generosity. I give from my heart. This little baby puppy needs something warm, and you can't provide it. I can. Let's do it.
Let's do it. And that is the beauty of the feminine.
That's the things I love about me. That I'm open to all ideas. I will filter them myself. I won't necessarily believe everything you tell me, but I will take what I need from it. And it's a conversation we had in a call or a show I did on Tuesday where we talked about this. And it doesn't mean I'm not going to watch these people that I know are maybe not all on the up and up.
Questionable.
They're coming to the table with sometimes good information. And well, And sometimes it's just entertainment.
And
And I,
sometimes there's information in untruths, because
yes,
then you start to see, well, this person says this and this person kind of says the same thing, but then you start to realize maybe it's an untruth.
yes. And I think that's where we also touched on this before too, is in this process, you're also unlearning putting people on pedestals
Yes, the worship.
and
Isn't that?
trusting yourself instead of, because I told you there were many people I started to question. I still watched, but I was already questioning them and wasn't putting them in necessarily in high esteem, but it was a place to go for information.
Yes, and that's all it is. And you can be respectful. You may choose to donate to their cause or their channel. You may choose not to. You may choose to do something different. But the only the only thing you worship is
Creator,
source,
creator,
right?
highest
Yourself.
self,
What? Yeah, oneself,
amazing
higher
being.
self, God, self, source. That
Yeah.
is the channel that you worship. You can honor yourself,
Yes.
right? Because when you can break yourself down in that way, you know when your higher self is in charge. You know when your ego's in charge. You
Yep.
know, you can flip it like in that, like a flip a switch and bring my higher self back in. Okay, I'm getting a little outside here for whatever reason, and then and realign this way. You love everybody, but if your love is conditional, I will love you if you put a roof over my head.
I
I will
don't.
love you if you make me feel good and do well in school.
I don't love everybody. I don't love these demons who are trying to kill us. I do not have any love for them. I'll be honest, Sandy.
And I'm not saying you have to love everybody. I never said that. I would never put that my opinion has to be somebody else's. And I'm not
Yeah.
saying everybody is deserving of your respect and trust. If you cannot trust somebody, it makes it really hard to love them.
Yep.
Because now you're contradicting yourself, because to love somebody who's not trustworthy, you betray yourself. And it's self-betrayal by taking on other people's nonsense that registers as one of the biggest heartbreaks that we have. That's what all the demoralizing and demeaning acts they want everybody doing all these demeaning things are. If for you to say that you're going to kill a baby full term because it's your right, you just demoralized yourself and you demeaned yourself. And I'm
Yes.
not saying don't do certain things. I don't get to say that, but you've got to know when those words leave your mouth, we are now watching. We're not just watching the people in the positions of the titles where they can do the, like they can write into law these things. We're watching everybody now. Everybody is coming to the light, and nobody cares if you're decent or if you're not decent, but we're going to see who is decent and who's not decent and who's consistent, not from a place of ego, because I think we're going to get a reshuffle of relationships. I can just see an oracle deck right now. We're going to get a big reshuffling of relationships because people are going to realize, no, you take advantage of me. I've tried. And I can give an example where I've set boundaries and tried to set boundaries for the last 15 years with somebody who technically you think should be in your life. And I've set the boundaries and set the boundaries, and this person doesn't bite. There's always a minute, like a little head game in there. And then you stop and realize, okay, I've set all these boundaries, but you have an agenda that you need to make me look bad. Like I don't even want to be around you because now this is your agenda so that you can tell everybody how smart you are. And I'm like, so that person is still at a very young emotional age. I'm not criticizing that person. I'm done trying. I'm done trying to have a boundary and have a relationship, even though it's not a person who's close to me.
Yeah. Well, we're in the culling. Like I said
Totally,
before,
Colin.
we're in the culling. And this is, it's a very interesting time. It's a really interesting time. I used to say, sometimes it's hard to know who the good guys are and who the bad guys are because bad guys do good things and good guys do bad things. And sometimes it's hard to decipher which one is which. But I believe right now we're actually seeing who the
Who's
real
who?
bad, who's who. There's no more, the lines aren't as blurry as they used to be.
Exactly.
And because they were blurry. I mean, I said this 10 years ago in conversation. It's like, well, how do you know? Because there are people who seem good, and then you find out that there's this underbelly of evil. And then there's people who do stupid, dumb things, and
They
but
have a
they're
good heart,
actually
but
a good
they,
heart. They're doing it
yes.
out of, everybody does stupid things. Everybody. If you think you haven't done something stupid, you're lying.
To yourself.
Period. Yeah.
so,
To yourself
so
and everybody else, because we've all done stupid things.
you know what's interesting? I have a friend who's an astrologer, and she's I won't say her age, but she's very alert and very astute. Been doing this for a very long time, and she says things are going to become chaotic. They're going to be chaotic until at least February 20th, because Mercury's in retrograde. For most people, they're their communication's not working for them, it's working against them. But she said things are going to come up for clarification in February, March, April, and I think May. She said everything's going to come to light. So there's no hiding what kind of person you are anymore.
No.
Like not in any way. And part of it's because we're waking up, but part of it is people are starting to be able to discern what is a healthy behavior, what is not a healthy behavior. An example would be like a very light example, somebody who's chronically late. So you set up a time to meet and they show up always an hour late and leave you sitting somewhere waiting to meet them. That's disrespectful. That's not what friends do.
Yep.
Just an example. So that if it happens enough times, then it's a pattern. Then you got to start asking, is this intentional? Is this a little power play that's going on in your head and not mine? So we're starting to see what we won't tolerate anymore as well. But it does not mean we're rude. We just say, no, thank you. And start forming different, I'm going to say different tribes without being, that word gets used too much, but like forming different alliances and different people that you naturally gravitate to.
Well, but I actually do like the word tribe, and because I've said many times that this is a time to actually find your tribe.
Yes, and it is totally. Alliance, tribe, whatever the words are.
We're not all going to look the same. We're not all going to come from the same places, but we have a soul connection.
And we're going to be able to trust each other even if we disagree. So I'm okay if people have opinions that I don't agree with. I don't need everybody to think exactly like me, because if we all did, we'd all be boring because we'd all be the same.
Yep.
You need sometimes a bit of contrast so other people can bring different opinions in. And some people I find they come and go. They'll ebb and flow with their opinion. So they'll be right along. They'll agree with me on something. And then all of a sudden a week passes and then they're not quite so sure anymore. And I'll give an example. Somebody didn't believe me when I said that the Super Bowl, they asked me if I'm going to watch. And I said, well, I never watch. And I said, besides, it's satanic. And they go, oh, yeah, whatever. And I said, I'm serious. Stadiums, churches, all that are built on energy vortexes so they can siphon the energy. And he goes, yeah. He goes, I don't share your belief. And I said, that's no problem. I said, I'm interested in the halftime show, though. If you watch it, let me know what it is. I'm just curious. So then he sent me the next after the show that it was ELO. And he goes, I went to a concert there. And then I look at Carrie Cohan. She goes and debunks all the Satanism in that video or in the show. And he said to me, he goes, it looks like they were wearing jock straps on their face. And sure enough, I think they were wearing underwear. Hey, there's that vagina on your head, everything upside down, all inverted. So it was kind of interesting. So when I sent him that, he had a bit of a different, he kind of reverted back again that maybe it is satanic. And I said, you guys have to decide if you're going to fuel the like that behavior and all the men trying to trick you into being homosexual. Like, you got to decide if you're going to fuel it. But I didn't own it. And I didn't tell him he had to listen to me.
Right. But that's cognitive dissonance. It's that they want and I have lots of people in my life that they want information, and they believe it to some extent, but then they watch mainstream media and then it's like a push-pull of, well, who to believe. Do you believe these people on the television who look all pretty, right? And
they're always pretty.
all polished and look good and speak nicely and everything else? Or do you listen to me, which hopefully I look nice and I'm somewhat polished, but definitely not a newscaster. And,
you're not trained CIA. You don't have an agenda.
I don't have an agenda. Well, actually, I do. I'm going to be honest. My agenda is to spread truth, and hopefully those who can hear it will hear it. That is my agenda.
Yes. But you're upfront with it. So I meant like a negative agenda, like something sneaky you're trying to put past on somebody. So I'm going to comment too on people who are occupied in what they call the physical reality, the 3D world, which most people are. Like coaching can be a little different because it's an etheric or an energy exchange. But a lot of them, if their jobs are, they're essential workers, they have to believe some of that or they lose their job. And sooner or later, they're going to have to decide, are you going to get a vaccination to keep that job? How far are they going to push you guys? And everybody who thinks that, oh, I'm going to wait the longest and hold out to the end, there's no escaping this. Even if you survive and other people don't, you're going to be the maid or you're going to be whatever occupation they want you to be, because they are going to chip you if you're surviving. You're going to be their sheep. You're going to be, and you're not going to know, because they're going to program your mind and they'll tell you, you're the butler, you're the maid, you're the lawn care person, you're going to look after my lawn, you're going to tend my cows, whatever. So people have nobody's escaping this. Where are you going to go?
Yeah. Well, the numbers for nurses and healthcare workers refusing is actually quite good.
Good for them.
And Karen, when I spoke with Karen on Monday, she let me know that Rocco Galati won his first case.
Yes, he did.
vaccines can't be mandatory in Ontario, at least, because I know he was only doing Ontario. Because I was
Okay.
following him really closely on Twitter until I got knocked off. So now
Yeah.
I
And
don't
you're
get.
still off. And you're still off Twitter.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll
Because
check
they
again, but my
and like
account's still there, but they've removed everything. And every time I try to follow somebody or make a comment, because I still go in every once in a while, especially if from Telegram, if somebody's linked something from
right.
Twitter, you can go right into Twitter. But yeah, it's still giving me the you can't do this, you're suspended. And it's been over a month.
I don't know how long they do it for, but because I
I
was
was
suspended
kicked
for a
off at
couple of
the same
weeks.
time as Donald Trump. I feel very proud of that. I was kicked off the same day as Donald Trump.
So
Yay!
there you go, right? You know you're over the target when. So they're saying, Jack Dorsey's saying that even if Trump runs again in 2024, that they're not going to let him have a Twitter account. Like
Jack
this is the
can say whatever he
arrogance.
wants. He'll be 6 feet under by the time that.
I know, but my point, this is what we're waking up to realize that this is the arrogance of the society that we're in. They want you, they want you not paying attention. They want you apathetic. They want you heartless. Right. And this is where I think there's going to be a movement of more people coming out. Do you know who Nadine is?
No.
She, I'm going to send that to you at some point. But she's talking about Jason Kenney, and they took a woman off the airplane and put her in the COVID hotel and didn't tell the husband or anybody where she was. And she's like, like she didn't call them bastards, but this is bullshit. But there's a feisty woman who's calling what needs to be said to
Well,
these
that's
people.
kidnapping. That's called
It's
kidnapping.
kidnapping.
It's
And who are
called
we kidding?
kidnapping.
What kind of people would do that? Right? So people have to start being called out for going along with this insanity. They are also very apathetic. And I'm wondering if they haven't already taken the vaccine that's removed their soul, their ability to connect to their soul. So there's a lot of moving parts to this. I'm talking people who are willfully apathetic, not people who have, I'm going to say vaccine damage if that's the case. But those are going to be the ones that they want going forward, who don't think, just do as they're told. They don't care if they don't own anything.
Many people like that, especially here in Canada, that I see,
I know.
without a vaccine, are willing to do what they're told.
I know. And this is the apathy as well. So they don't, somebody else told me that when you hire police, they will look at somebody, and if you think for yourself, you might have the best marks, but you're not going to get in unless you follow the orders. When you want somebody who can think for themselves and say, wait a minute, this is a little over the top.
Yeah. No, they don't want that.
And so we have to question every organization we have, every institution, what is being taught right across the board in anywhere where you deal with the human aspects of our humanity. We have to look at that. Why is it so heartless? And when you tell somebody they're heartless, they don't like that, but it doesn't mean it's not true. Right? Absolutely. So that's what I think. The emerging female, the re-emerging female, we are going to set a new bar for everybody I don't get to say what the standards are. People have to decide for themselves, but we have the right to set standards.
Absolutely.
I will not tolerate your lies. I will not tolerate your deception. I will not tolerate you stealing. Look at the taxpayers are footing the bill. They're saying right now that I don't know what Biden's trying to do with the schools. So they want the schools open, but he wants a certain amount of money to change hands. But I'm under the impression what they're saying is that if he opens the schools, he gets a kickback.
Of course, he always gets a kickback.
So you sit here and think this is what needs to come to light, the financial abuses as well, right?
Absolutely. Well, look at even here with the WE scandal. That was total kickbacks to the Trudeau family.
Totally. And it's like it's the same everywhere. It's only new to us, but they know how to play the game.
SNL Lavalin, everything that our prime minister does is a kickback to him.
Yeah.
I mean,
and look at
sleazeball, the people who actually voted for him because he was good looking. Grow up.
Give your head a shake, right? Look at Bombardier. Bombardier, it doesn't matter what government's in place, they always have problems and they always need to be bailed out. So that's money laundering. Yeah. It doesn't matter if it's conservative, it doesn't matter what government's in, that is a money laundering station. So now they're laying off 1,600 jobs, so they'll get another bailout to keep those 1,600 jobs, and more money gets laundered. And we're supposed to pretend we're stupid, that we don't understand the players.
Well, the kicker is I think a lot of people didn't understand. And if you don't understand at this point in time, you're willfully ignorant. There is no reason to be ignorant anymore. That's willful ignorance.
Even your dog agrees.
Yes, she does. She's a super smart one. But Sandy, I think we're coming up to the
Wrap
hour,
this up?
and so
Okay.
I want to thank you. I'm actually hoping we can do this again. I was talking to Karen, maybe a round table.
That would be interesting, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
She's the clan mother. And I know she's very strong in a lot of ways. She is a sweetheart. She wants the best for everybody. So
I know.
I spent enough personal time with her that I see that in her. So
Oh, I
she's
can
not
feel
trying,
her heart. I can feel her heart. That's
oh,
what drove me to her in the first place.
she's not jockeying for position by saying I'm one of the original or I'm one of the clan mothers. She's not trying to say, look at me, I'm King, whatever that John guy the third, whatever in the UK,
Oh, the one
whatever.
that's actually now come out that he was, in a sex cult. It's just like
Yeah.
blew
So
my
what I'm
brain.
saying is Karen is genuine with what she's saying. She wants the best for everybody. And you can see by
Mhm.
the things she does for people for free and just you see
I know.
that in her, right? So this
I'm
is the new
hoping
bar.
we can do that maybe next week or the week after. I'll reach out to her and see what we can coordinate.
Okay,
All
sounds
right.
good.
Thank
So
you.
can I give you my email if anyone wants to